presentation, and really before we get into some of the questions that we received, I want to tell you a little bit about who we are and this department for Wayne County. The Department of Public Services is the largest department for Wayne County. We deal with most all of the external services we provide to our citizens here in Wayne County. Currently now, we are comprised of 6 divisions. Of course, we have our administration division, engineering, equipment division, who handles all of our fleet. We have our parks division, who's comprised of our historical Hines Park and Elizabeth Park. Of course, our roads division, and then we have our equipment division, and of course, our environment. We oversee collectively over maintaining 1,600 county primary and local railroad roads, ways in the county. So we really service nearly 2 million residents in Wayne County. So as you can see, we have a lot that our department is responsible for and provide the services. Now, having said that, I just want to make sure that we know, even prior to the pandemic, do we have all the resources that we need? Do we have all the funding that we need? Absolutely not. What we won't do is sit here and say what we don't have until our county exec and other leaders like our commissioners continue to support us to get the funding that we need or the resources we need. We're going to continue in doing what we do to improve our roads, our environment, or our parks with the resources that we currently have. So having said that, we're just going to stay committed to what we do.
Thank you, Director Watts.
Yes.
So we are going to start. I've got the first question, and it does have to do with the engineering division. So what is the process for determining which roads are picked for construction?
Okay, at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Elizabeth Taylor. She's one of our chief engineers, and she oversees the engineering division on the construction side as well as the permit. So, Ms. Taylor, you want to take this question?
Absolutely. Good evening. So basically, we're engineers. So the science behind determining the roads, we score each road using a PACER rating, which is established by AASHTO, and it's a rating from 1 to 10, 1 to 2 being poor and 9 to 10 being excellent. We also use traffic counts or traffic volumes, average speeds and speed limits for roads, obviously the overall aesthetics and condition of the roads, any safety factors, and also the maintenance frequency. You know, how many times are we filling potholes on the road?
Okay. Are you through, Ms. Taylor?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I have the next question. Can you explain where Wayne County receives funding for road work? After 3 months of the stay-at-home order and purchasing less gas, how will the decrease in gas tax revenue affect the funding for major road projects in the future?
All right. So the first part of that question is we get our road funding from Act 51, which basically allows it's money that's allocated through the gas tax, and it's based on we get a set dollar per lane mile for local roads and a set dollar per lane mile for what we call major trunk lines or major roads. So given the fact that that Act 51 money that we use is based off of the gas tax, certainly with the last 3 to 4 months of the COVID pandemic, we're seeing overall a reduction in the purchase of gas. So we're anticipating that in 2021 we're going to have less money, which may mean we do less projects. Our goal is to continue to provide road construction projects, and we're going to do everything in our power to continue to not reduce our projects. But realistically, we are looking at potentially reducing the number of projects that we do by 3 to 4.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, that means it's my turn.
Yes.
So just as a quick point of personal privilege, if folks don't mind, I just wanted to thank everybody from DPS, everybody from the county who worked so hard to pull this together and is participating tonight. To my colleagues, Commissioner Marecki, Commissioner Daub, for their leadership on this. You know, for somebody like myself who's just a couple months into this job, it's been like drinking out of a fire hose, right? And each and every one of you have been so helpful and instructive in that process, including the folks on my staff who are here today. I know Lisa Childs is here, John Zadikian is here. Just wanted to really recognize it and thank all those folks. And then of course, as I'm looking through the participants list, I know we've got a number of folks who are in the community joining us. And in particular, I wanted to recognize the fact that we have Livonia's state representative, Lori Pohutsky, who has joined us for our meeting here tonight. So welcome, Representative Pohutsky. My question really centers around something that I think really we get asked and hear all the time. And that is what happens when we complete a road project and then you name it, 6 months, a year, 2 years later, we're starting to see problems. We're starting to see issues crop up. What can you share about warranties for our road projects? If we are paying to have this work done, how do we guarantee that the work that we have done is quality work? And then if there's problems, you know, what sort of warranty might come along with that construction?
Okay, so it's me again. So that's an excellent question, and in fact, we do have a warranty program for our roads. It's triggered when the construction costs exceed $1 million. But always, as part of our construction process, Wayne County is unique county in the state of Michigan that we test and inspect everything material-wise that goes into the construction of our roads. So we greatly reduce those instances where we have material failures or issues with workmanship. But certainly we have those warranties, so we hold feet to the fire with contractor workmanship and material issues.
Okay, great. Thank you. So I've got the next question. And I'd like to remind all of the members of the public who are here today, if you do have a question that you'd like to ask the DPS team, please enter it into the Zoom chat. Or if you're watching on Facebook Live, you can enter your question into the Facebook Live feed. We do have staff members who are watching for questions, and they're going to feed those to us to ask the DPS team later on in the presentation. So my question for DPS is, how can residents out here in the Western Wayne suburbs make sure that we're getting our fair share of the road funding?
Well, so each year we have we meet with a federal aid committee that has a representative from each of the 43 communities within Wayne County. And as a committee, we meet twice a year, and we vote on which roads to do. And like I said, every one of the communities gets a vote in that selection process. And again, you know, we base those roads on the PACER ratings and the condition. So we come up with a rough list, and then that list is voted on with the federal aid committee.
Hey, Commissioner, this is Andrew Kandrivas. Can I just say something? I think that a lot of times in the DPS and Wayne County world, we talk about the PACER rating. I'm not sure that everybody knows what that is. Can engineering just in a few sentences describe what physically goes into creating the PACER rating for our roads?
Certainly. I mean, a member of the engineering team, along with members from MDOT, and we also invite local community members, local municipal governments to ride along, but we literally drive the roads in all of Wayne County, and we score the roads. So we're physically visually, and sometimes we do soil borings and we do, subsurface investigations, and that's part of that whole PACER rating. So certainly visually, every road is getting inspected by every other year.
And it's on a 1 to 10 scale, correct? 1
Yeah.
being the poorest, 10 being it's a brand new road.
Absolutely.
And Commissioner, this is Beverly, and on that point, in addition to utilizing the PACER rating where roads are rated in the county, we are pleased to say that a couple of years ago, we recognized that Wayne County, we didn't have an asset management plan, which is so needed when you're going to do planning, and then when you're going to be setting budgets or what roads to do, to have a long-term plan. So we did reach out and we obtained a consultant to help us develop a 10-year road plan. So we're over a year and a half into that planning process that's really going to aid the county as we go years to come. We're not just going to focus only and solely on the roads that are real bad. It's important for also going to Knezek's point to focus on some of those roads that was recently done, do that needed preventive maintenance to get more life out of that road. So we're pleased that we're going to start that process, and as years to come, residents will see how we're improving the roads, but more importantly, more life onto that road with heavy preventative maintenance.
Definitely. Thank you.
Absolutely, Beverly. And we're 2021 will be the first year where we're actually going to start using that 10-year asset management plan.
One of the things that I keep hearing, particularly from folks in Redford Township, and I know that we have our outstanding director, Mike Dennis, with us on this Zoom call, so hopefully this is helpful for everybody. But can you talk to me a little bit about the timing of traffic signals, how those decisions are made, who's making those decisions, and then if I have a resident who wants to reach out and offer some suggestions or feedback or changes to the timing of those traffic signals, what does that process look like? So I know a multi-part question there, but one that I certainly hear a lot.
Absolutely. And I'll, first and foremost, if residents, see a need for retiming or a signalized intersection, the number they want to call is the 1-800 or 188 road crew. And that's the best way to get their concern on our docket. Obviously, I can go into a lot of details about how we determine timing and signalized. There are entire college courses on just that fact alone. But for the most part, we look at number of travel lanes in the road, the traffic counts, the hours at which those peak traffic occurs. A lot of times it's, you have to factor in if there's schools or if you have a large industrial factory that has shift workers. Hospitals are also very key. But also we look at speed limits.
And then is that decision made at the county level, or is that somebody else who's making that decision then?
No, absolutely. We have a traffic department that's part of engineering, and those folks do their job very well. And they are out doing traffic counts. We haven't been able to do traffic counts during COVID, because certainly with the reduced amount of traffic, it's not really a good time to do traffic counts because they're not real representative. But just last week, we started back doing our annual traffic counts. And again, we try to lay eyes on all of our 1,400 traffic signals at least every other year, and sometimes it's more frequent than that, because we also factor in new development. So if a assembly plant or a stadium goes up or a new school, a lot of times we'll pay special attention to areas that are receiving a lot of new development.
And Commissioner, on that point, Elizabeth is correct. Of course, when you're talking about existing traffic signals that's up there, you want to maybe change or revise a timing signal. But a lot of times we also get requests for traffic studies. As you know, which is a good thing, Wayne County is fastly growing with economic growth in a lot of our communities, which we're very proud to see. You know, when you go around and look at Northville or Canton or Plymouth, you know, the development that's going there, you still have to look at the road. Because as you have development there, you have more traffic volume, you may have to widen a road. So with that, we do conduct traffic studies at request, and some on our own, but we don't make the final decision on our own. What we're doing is preparing that study and preparing that information, and then we're passing it on to the MSP, Michigan State Police, and then we're passing it on to the state, who's going to review all the data, and then they will make a final determination. So I think that goes to your point. But we do follow the state guidelines, and we start off in the local level preparing that study and then pushing that information up for the state's review and final determination.
That's helpful. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you very much. Okay, I have the next question. The subject of the bridges in the last 2 years has really come to light, the maintenance and the repair of several of the county bridges. Can you explain how the bridges are inspected and how they're maintained?
So again, Wayne County has 311 bridges, and we inspect every single one of those bridges every other year. So we split the list, and each year we look at half, and then the next year the next half. Similar to the PACER rating, each bridge is scored, and we have various bridges. We have bridges over roads, we have bridges over drains, and we have bridges over larger bodies of water. And so there are things that we look at differently for bridges over water versus bridges that are over roads. We look at the scour and how much damage the water might be doing. And certainly a factor that we've been seeing recently is, we're seeing a lot of higher water levels than we've seen in the past. And so we're seeing a lot more scouring on our bridges. We also look at, again, how frequent that bridge is being used. What are the traffic volumes, and also the traffic types? Is it seeing a lot of truck traffic? Is it mostly passenger vehicles? A lot of our bridges, because of their age, have existing weight restrictions. So we prioritize our CIP list with looking at bridges that are obviously in bad structural shape, but also if they have the most limiting weight restrictions. We have a lot of bridges that are posted with weight restrictions, and that we take that into effect. And obviously we want to address those bridges first and foremost.
And I know many of us in our districts had bridges closed over the last couple of years, and DPS was able to open some of those up at the cost of about $1 million a bridge. So they're quite expensive and timely and costly to take care of. So thank you for that information.
Commissioner, absolutely, you're correct. And to be, just elaborate a little more, in 2017, because we recognize, as well as our roads, we had aging bridges that are responsible for over 300. And what we did, we dedicated and directed some of our money we had to, and put a focus on our bridges because of the weight restrictions, and some had to close. So even though this is 2020, in a very short amount of time, we did redo bridges. It wasn't just repairing them, we totally did replacements, like in Canton, down in Huron Township, and other areas. So we're proud what we've done since 2017, but we have a long way to go as it relates to our bridges as well. More funding is definitely needed, but we're going to keep on trying to develop a plan, and those bridges are also a plan is included in our 10-year road plan that our consultant is helping us to address those issues as well.
Thank you. And I appreciate the fact that you mentioned the consultant that the commission hired a few years back. So yes, that's going to be very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Watts. So now we're seeing a list of the 2020 bridge projects here, but I know that a lot of people really want to know what are the 2020 major road projects. Can we get a list for those?
Yes, I think that's the next slide as well.
It is.
Yes, yes. Absolutely, and this is coming up from Elizabeth, again, in Engineering Division. So you have a list of our road construction projects for this year. Still have an aggressive plan for this year. Pre the pandemic, we had a couple of more roads projects we wanted to do, but because of that, and some of the construction contractors with limited staff because of the pandemic and the late start everyone got, we were only able to do, which we're still proud of this list for 2020. We're still gonna plan and just try to have an aggressive construction plan for 2021. Of course, everything is gonna be based upon the funding, but with the funding that we have and we're gonna receive from MDOT, we're gonna keep on plugging away because we have a lot of inventory on roads and bridges that need to be rehabbed.
Yes, and so I just flipped over to the second slide if everyone wants to see. I know there wasn't a whole lot of our area on the first slide, but we've got some Canton Township, Livonia and Redford on this second slide here.
Yes, and I want to mention also all of the schedules, they are listed on our website. So if individuals want to download it or go take a view for individual roads or bridges that we're doing this year. And this is just in our engineering division. In a moment, you'll see our heavy maintenance program schedule as well that's handled by our roads division. So there's also some roads that will get some improvements throughout the community.
Wonderful, and perfect segue. So now we're gonna move on to talking about our roads division, and I will hand it over to Commissioner Marecki.
Thank you, Commissioner Daub. Okay, this is a question I think every commissioner gets at some point in their in the year, in the 6 months. Why do workers shovel asphalt in the potholes and move on so quickly?
So I guess it's my turn now.
Yes.
Good evening, everyone. So that's a great question, Commissioner. And I'd like to respond this way. Pothole patches are an immediate and first respond to a road hazard condition. The primary objective is to remove that immediate hazard and move quickly to other road hazards. In saying that, until actually we can get the road that is basically eligible for resurfacing. In saying that, I'd like to share a stat with you. Back in 2019, Wayne County Road Division patched 370 potholes, 370,000 potholes, excuse me, and used basically 11,000 tons of asphaltic material. Based on the number of potholes that we filled last year or each year, our methods and approach has proven to be proactive and efficient for us.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
I answered that question for you.
So I have a question. It's sometimes mind-blowing to think that we still have dirt roads in Wayne County and places like Canton and Northville and Livonia. I'm not sure if there are any in Livonia, but I definitely know we've got some in Canton and Plymouth. So what's the schedule for taking care of dirt roads or gravel roads? And what is the process for grading, crowning, and applying the calcium chloride?
Another great question. Thank you, Commissioner. As many people call it, dirt roads. It's basically an unpaved gravel road. And our schedule for annual grading and chloride application occurs in a 3-cycle basis. Typically, roads are graded 1 to 2 days prior to receiving calcium chloride application. Based on that 3-cycle process, application 1 usually happens prior to May, and actually it's prior to Memorial Day weekend, which is in May of every month, I guess. Application number 2 happens prior to July, which is Independence Day, 4th of July. And Independence Day. And application 3 is prior to Labor Day, which is sometime in September.
I think it's my turn again.
Yes.
So we just saw the slide of projects from our engineering division, and it was alluded to briefly there that there's also information about the roads division and the projects that they're going to be handling in 2020. I know folks are dying to know, and so I'd love it if we could share what projects we have coming up in 2020 as well from our roads division.
Well, so far, if you look at the list there, Commissioner, we have completed approximately 6 projects already, starting with Sheldon Road from 6 to 7 mile. That received a 2-inch mill and fill. That was completed about, I would say, 4 weeks ago. Came out very nice, and I think the people are pleased with it. The second project we completed was Joy Road, east of Ravine Drive and Wayne Road. We completed that. We also completed Trenton Road, south of Leroy Street and south of Eureka Road. We completed Sumter Road between Bemis and north of Hall Road. And we just completed today Beach Daily between 5 and 6 mile in the city of in Redford Township. So we have several more projects down the pike. The next project on Monday is actually Lasher, north of 7 to 8 mile in the city of Detroit. That's also going to get the 2-inch mill and fill. And Goddard Road between Wayne Road and Vining Road. Van Horn Road west of Hall Road to east of Hall Road. Van Horn, which I just said, Van Born, excuse me, west of Cogswell and near the railroad tracks. Sheldon Road between Ford Road and Warren Road.
Yay!
The list goes on. So
And I want to say on that point, you see Redford Township, I know Mike Dennis is on with us, so I hope he knows we're coming back over to Redford Township.
Thank you.
And the list is pretty much is on there, and we'll proceed as we have here.
I don't know who coordinated it or who pulled it off, but it's not lost on me that you did Redford Township today, and that's in my district. And so I appreciate it. Well done.
What a coincidence.
What a coincidence.
We do thank you.
Okay. I have the next question, and just a side note, I have heard from so many people in Northville their appreciation about the Sheldon Road project. I can't tell you, I've never had so many people contact me over a road project in any of my districts. So thank you to say thank you. So thank you for that. So I have the next question.
Hey, Terry, it's Bob Nix. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Well, I joined, and I just want to just thank you and Bev Watts and Steve for the Sheldon Road. You know that the three of us, we've worked on that for about 1.5 years, and that was a very critical piece for Northville Township. So it does, you can't say thank you enough. So I just want to make sure that the players who were responsible for this just know how much we appreciate it. So thank you again from me, Bob Nix, Northville Township Supervisor.
Oh, thank you, Supervisor Nix. I'm sure they all appreciate that.
Absolutely. And Supervisor Nix always, thank you. He knows I always say this, which most of our townships and community does, but he definitely always tried to assist us. He knows our resources are limited, but he's always trying to be creative and coming to a solution to try to partner as we try to fix some of these limited resources. But he always say, hey, I have $1. Can you put in 5? So I appreciate that spirit that he comes.
Yeah, creative minds in this day and age as well. Okay, I have the next question. This is a question that all the commissioners have been getting lately. And I just want to say thank you, because sometimes we have grass issues that are the grass is very high and almost is becoming a danger, and you guys go right out and cut the grass down. So what is the schedule for grass cutting, and what general areas is Wayne County responsible for?
I think we're gonna have Bill Bantam take this one. I think he's jumping like a bit. So Bill, I hope you're off mute. If you want to take this slide.
Sure. So, am I on?
Yes.
So, Commissioner, when we talk about mowing, we actually mow close to 2,000 acres of grass, and that's how we kind of calculate what we mow. So out of that 1,800, it's really broken down into, we have the boulevards, you know, like E-Course, like Outer Drive, and we also have some smaller boulevard areas. Then we have what's called the grade separations, and those are the areas where the overpasses and the underpasses kind of cross, generally where there's a railroad viaduct. We mow that also. So what we try to do for the boulevards is 8 to 10 cycles per year. We actually added 2 things this year to the contract. One is we're actually doing a weed spray. Often it's not the grass that looks so bad, it's the weeds that grow so fast. And then we're also doing we're doing a weed spray, and we're also doing a growth retardant to try to keep the grass really looking good. When it comes down to the grade separations, and there's about 42 that we do, I'm looking here now, when we think about your area, Northfield and 5 Mile, Beach and Ann Arbor Trail, Merriman and Plymouth, Farmington and Plymouth, those areas, those are the grade separations. We have about 42 of those. In past years, we've only done 3 cycles. This year, we moved that up to 4 cycles. So that's being done by the contractor. In-house, we have the county partials, and those are the smaller roads. The smaller roads, generally at the end of a roadway when 2 roads intersect and you have that grassy area where there's no houses and everybody wonders, who does that belong to? Well, that belongs to us. So that we do, that we're doing 6 to 8 cycles. And then we also have the swath mowing. And that's, you know, that's to create the sight distance. When you come to the end of a road, basically on the gravel roads or what roads where you have ditch lines, and that's a 6 to 8 feet cut that we do on those areas. And that we're doing 3 cycles. And then again, we have the major boulevards, 8 to 10. What we're working on now, because the list is so voluminous, generally what we've posted is what the contractor does on the major boulevards, but we're working on shrinking that list down so we can get something to you that will give you a snapshot of everything we're responsible for and how many times each one of those areas should be mowed per season.
Okay, thank you very much. Nice seeing you, Bill. Haven't seen you in a long time.
Nice seeing you, Commissioner.
Yeah, thank you for that explanation. It's very helpful.
So now we're going to move on to the Environmental Services Division part of our presentation. And Commissioner Knezek has our next question.
Yeah, this is actually a big one for me, and you know, the irony is not lost on me as it is so darn hot out this week, and I'm praying for some rain. But I know that with the rain comes the flooding, and you know, regardless of what community you're from, we know that this can be an issue. I certainly hear it in Redford Township. I definitely hear it in the south end of Dearborn Heights. We've been fighting for that for a long time and have a lot of great partners at the county on that issue. But can we talk a little bit about, you know, what is being done by the county to address that flooding that takes place with some level of regularity? What's being done, and what could we be doing to be even better?
Hi, everyone. This is Patrick Cullen. I'm the Division Director of Environmental Services. Thank you, Commissioner Knezek, for that question. And just to go backwards, thanks to Commissioner Daub and Marecki for putting this together. It's really nice to see everyone. We haven't seen much of each other over the last several months. It's nice to have the community with us tonight, too. This has been a real challenging time for everyone, and it's great to have all of you with us. So you're right, Commissioner, this is a really big question. And the county has responsibility for a lot of flooding issues that are going on, and some of the things that are happening around us are jurisdiction of other entities too. But I wanted to talk about a couple of really, make a couple of broad points about flooding in general and its impact in Wayne County specifically. The first thing I wanted to mention is the impact of climate change. And all of you, everyone has heard about climate change. Some of you may, you know, have studied or really taken a deep dive into it, but not a lot really understand its direct impact in our neighborhoods, and it really does have a direct impact in our neighborhoods. You know, the data shows that not only is the annual average rainfall percentage increasing, or the average amount of rainfall increasing every year. But our 4 wettest days of the year, our most intense storms are becoming more intense. Our strongest storms every year contribute upwards of 30% more precipitation per event than they did in 1970. And that has a tremendous impact on our drainage systems. We have a lot of drainage systems that were developed for agricultural purposes 150 years ago. Our road drains and our storm drains that were developed in our subdivisions and along our roadways weren't necessarily built and designed for the type of impact that we're seeing. The other broad statement I wanted to make about flooding has to do, with raising awareness about our drainage systems being as an important part of critical infrastructure as our roads. And everybody sees the roads on a daily basis. You drive them, you can physically see their condition very easily as you're traveling throughout the community. Our drains are a little less visible, but they're just as critical as our roads in terms of how the infrastructure works together. And like our roads, our drainage systems, many of our drainage systems are in poor condition. And also like our roads, funding to address the problems in those drainage systems is a challenge and something that we're working at all the time to try to address. So there's just a few bullets on the slide here about some of the things that Wayne County is responsible for. Of course, we have our storm and sanitary drainage systems. We maintain county designated drains. We have ordinances that we enforce, our soil erosion and county stormwater ordinances that have an impact on flooding in the community. And we have a lot of partnerships that we work with, both locally and nationally, that try to address these issues as best we can. Some of the problems that you see in the community are really easy fixes. They're small things that we can go out and do very quickly, like clear a log jam out of a drain, or send a Vector truck out to clear out a storm drain on one of our county roads. Some of the issues, and certainly that you've seen in your district, Commissioner Knezek, are very large, systemic, historical challenges that have faced us for many, 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 many years. Specifically in Ecorse Creek watershed is probably the best example of that, where the fixes are in the hundreds of millions of dollars. And the money to really do the job to have a comprehensive fix on some of these drainage systems is not readily available. And so we're challenged, to address many of those problems. But we do really try to do the best that we can with what we have. One of the things, other things I wanted to mention to the group too is we're currently working on revisions to the county's stormwater standards, which some of us like to call the flood control standards. And we think that's a really important step to help mitigate the impact that new and redevelopment projects in the county have on our stormwater systems. There's a lot of different ways that we're addressing flooding in the county. Some of those issues are related directly to locally owned and operated storm systems. So we always encourage residents, to contact the 1-888 road crew number whenever they see flooding, and we can always help them assess the situation and find the appropriate entity to address the problem. And we're always willing to work with residents on some of their bigger challenges when it comes to these flooding issues as well. And I know we have our Wayne County Drain Commissioner with us, Elmika Seal, here tonight, and I think she has some additional information she wants to share.
Are you on mute?
Thank you, Patrick. And one thing I do want to add, and Patrick gave a very good summary of some of the challenges. There's been a lot of discussion in Michigan regarding funding for roads, and he mentioned, you know, sometimes the drainage infrastructure, because it's not as visible, it may not always get the same amount of attention, but certainly is just as critical. For those of you who may not know, when we talk about county drains, we're talking about drains that are established through the Michigan Drain Code. Some of you may be thinking, what in the world is that? We have a drain code that is on the books. The current version was from 1956. It's been amended several times. However, it really is a little bit arcane in terms of the way that it approaches how we're able to provide certain maintenance or certain improvements to drain. Currently, there's a statutory limit of $5,000 per mile of drain that can be expended annually. So if you can imagine, if you had some significant maintenance needs on a drain, by the time that you would hire a contractor or get someone out there, you know, for $5,000 per mile, you've almost pretty much exceeded the amount that you could expend without some additional steps being taken to get certain approvals to exceed that. So we certainly are trying to do our best to keep the maintenance going within the framework that the drain code allows for us to do that.
All right, thank you. So I actually was going to ask a question that you already answered, and I've been looking also at a lot of the questions that that were getting submitted through the Zoom chat and on Facebook Live, and that was I think we've got a couple people have been asking about drains, who's responsible for clearing the drains, and what to do if there's a drain near them that is backed up. So that they would call 188 road crew. Is that correct?
That's right.
That is correct. Yes, we definitely want everyone to call the road crew number. And it's really important to mention this as well. It does two things. Number one, obviously, it provides a tracking mechanism for the department to be able to make sure that we're following up on requests that are submitted, but also for the citizens to know if you provide your information to the call center, for example, an email address, you will receive updates anytime there is an update posted on the status of that service request. Because sometimes we will hear feedback from citizens. Let's say we send out a crew to inspect a portion of drain, and they'll say, hey, you know, no one ever did anything on this. And maybe they were working during the day, so they didn't see the crew come out. So we want to make sure that people have information, that they're getting some feedback on exactly what action the county has taken. So there's a dual benefit for everyone to put in that SR through the road crew number. The other thing, oh, sorry.
I'm sorry, Amika, can I just interrupt 1 second?
Sure.
One other huge benefit to just having the one number, the 888 road crew, I encounter it a lot in dealing with commissioners and the public. You know, sometimes the homeowner might call a ditch a drain,
yes,
and you know it's really a road,
yes,
it's a road issue and not a drains issue. But the average person doesn't need to know about what, you know, who it belongs to or which crew is going to be out and doing it. They can just call that 888 road crew, and then DPS will figure out, you know, what the proper agency is and what the proper division is.
That's actually I was actually going to make that next point. So that's a perfect segue, because I know.
Sorry, Amika.
No,
Sorry about that.
Perfect timing. Because I know this particular question, Commissioner Daub, you asked specifically about jurisdiction. So as Andy was saying, when we on the county side, for the drain code side, when we use the word drain, it could be a river, a creek, a stream. Sometimes there are sanitary sewers. It could be other facilities or infrastructure. But for us, it is a drain because it went through a legal process under the drain code to be established that way. And Andy is right. You know, citizens do not have to be concerned with trying to figure that out on their own by submitting the service request through the 888 road crew number. we can assist with that in determining whether it would be something under Wayne County's jurisdiction or another entity, so that they're not having to, you know, guess about that. And then obviously, if there is a serious flooding issue, if it were something under the county's jurisdiction to handle, we would want to know as soon as possible to try to take the appropriate action. Or likewise, if the citizen needed to be directed to the appropriate entity, they could contact that responsible entity so that that entity could take the appropriate action.
Okay, great. I just have one quick follow-up question to the 1888 road crew hotline. In the past, residents have been able to submit service requests online. Is that option still available?
Yes. You can still do it online. You can call the number and you can still do it online. So our call center, we have limited staff who obviously is fielding the calls when someone calls, but they're also dedicated a small group of staff that's going to be monitoring the website, the email. So they'll have the online requests that'll come in as well. And the online request will still be assigned a service request number.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Okay, I have the next question, and this is actually the last question from the commissioners before we get to the public. This is something that's near and dear to my heart, our park systems. The COVID pandemic has really limited what people can do the last few months. So are any of our parks open at this time? Maybe you can highlight what's going on. I know the public, I read recently bike sales and kayak sales are out of this world. You can't even find bikes anywhere. So people are really excited to be outside doing things that they can do. So could you just touch on the park system and what's going on now during the COVID
Absolutely.
pandemic?
Yes, and thank you for that, because I definitely was going to still encourage everyone to visit our parks. What we wanted to do due to the pandemic, and of course, you know, our county exec and other health officials with the county is very concerned, as well as the state and the country, as far as starting to slow and stop the spread of this virus until a cure is developed. So in those instances, what we did, we take it month by month. And that's what we've been doing since April and May, since the pandemic hit. Currently, right now, we've evaluated every month. We'll say, hey, are we going to open our pavilions? Will we open our basketball courts? Will we have our play structures? So in the months of May, June, and July, we've evaluated it, and we want to keep it closed. Really what we're doing is seeing and checking with the medical professionals who are also checking with CDC and other park agencies in the state, because we want to be aligned with them to see how this virus is doing and the social gatherings, and of course, the special executive orders that's set by the governor. So currently right now, and as everyone is aware, especially in the last week, it appears the virus is on the uptake, which is unfortunate. So as we were beginning to review if we were going to open some of those amenities for the month of August, we start seeing the numbers climb backwards. So our health professionals, and we check with other park agencies, and they were like, no, the basketball course, of course, unfortunately is going to remain closed at this time, as well as our play structures, because it's hard to maintain that social distancing, as well as the pavilions, because, you know, a lot of gathering there. We've also eliminated some of our events that we were going to have this summer. I guess everyone knew, you know, we would have our annual Mud Day that everyone loves to enjoy. We would be coming upon our Jazz on the River event or Motown on the River down in Elizabeth Park. Those events have been suspended this year, and it's all in an effort to really do our part right now as it relates to the virus, so we can do these things and enjoy again next year and years down the road. But to answer the question, what we have now, we want people to come out, because a lot of people are not going to travel this summer. We want you to come out and visit the parks. It helps us with our activity, recreation. The parks itself, Elizabeth and Hines Park, is open. We want you to ride your bike. We want you to jog. Actually, we're still having Saturdays in the park where we're shutting down the parks from Ann Arbor Trail to Otter Drive. Basically, I believe the hours like 9 or 10 to 3. So that way we can get the family out. You know, bring your dog out to our wonderful dog park. So the park itself is open. We just have some amenities where it's difficult really for us to really maintain social distancing. We've closed those, and unfortunately we're going to keep those closed until we see a sign where the virus is really, really working and we keeping everyone safe as well as our own staff. So the amenities itself, some of them will stay closed, basketball courts, pavilions, and play structures, but the parks itself is open, and we encourage everyone to visit our parks.
Thank you very much. And the weather's perfect for that.
Yes, absolutely. It's great for that. Get out and enjoy yourself and have some fun. We all need to do that, but do it with, you know, social distancing and do it safe. And we're hopeful that everything is going to return back to normal, hopefully next year. And with that, I'm going to segue into, because I know we may have a few more questions before the time is up. I just want to really restate our commitment again as a department and as a county, and under the leadership of our county exec. He really, really supports us and gives us and try to help us get the tools that we need to really improve our services. Again, as we relate to our call center, as we talk about our drains, as we talk about our roads and our bridges, again, I will state, are we there where we need to be, having all the staff that we need, having all the funding that we need? No, we're not. But we're not going to stop there until that time comes. We're going to make sure that we are dedicated. We have a wonderful team here. I just have a few of them that's on the meeting right now, but we have over 600 employees, a whole team that's behind us to make this machine run. And so I'm proud of each and every one of them. And I just want the citizens to know that we work for you. And we may not always respond back immediately, but you deserve a response and you will get one. And we would never stop trying to up our game as we improve our services and infrastructure here in Wayne County. Also, we want to make sure you know about how you can contact us. Just segue. Until the last couple of years, really, you only could call us through the 188 road crew number. We've tried to evolve that too, as well as when, you know, technology has advanced. So we really want individuals to contact us as well through the website, but we also excited about a subscription. We just started this last year where now you can get alerts on what's going on and happening in your community. We encourage you to go to our website and sign up for that subscription. So whether it relates to a heavy maintenance schedule that's beginning in your community or another community that you may work in or you're visiting, and as well as road projects or bridge projects, you will get an alert, you know, an email alert. So we encourage everyone to sign up for that subscription. So with that, we want to thank you again. We want to thank you, the commissioners again, Marecki and Daub and Knezek. Please, thank you so much for having us. We look forward. We like to do this. We look forward that we can do this in person. But again, thank you. And if we have time, if any more questions have come in, we feel free. We'd like to answer any more questions.
We do have many questions. So I know that we are very limited on time.
Yes.
I'm wondering if we could just take maybe 3 to 5 more minutes of your time and
okay,
just
absolutely.
quick questions. So to the members of the public, before we start this section of the presentation, if we don't get to your question tonight, I do encourage you to reach out to your commissioner for follow-up, and we'll get an answer to your question. If we can't answer it, we'll get with DPS and answer your question. So I'm going to ask the first question. How can someone find out the PACER ratings for a specific road? Is there somewhere online that the public can go and look up what their PACER rating is for a certain road?
I'm sure it is. Ron Agazinski, are you on the line? He's actually the chair, or helped, you know, he's the chair for Wayne County on the...
Yes, I am. What I'm going to do is I'm going to look and see if SEMCOG has that posted up there, and if it is, I'll provide the link for everybody.
Okay, great, thank you. Actually, they do have a map. SEMCOG is the Southeastern Michigan Council
of Government.
Yes, so it's SEMCOG. If you Google that, there's maps on that website. You can find it. Ron's going to try and find the exact link and put it in the Zoom chat.
Yes.
Okay. Commissioner Marecki, do you want to take the next one?
Sure. And actually, I get this question a lot, so this might be helpful to everyone. What are the parameters for determining if a traffic light is needed on a road? And I know there's different criteria, and maybe somebody can touch on that because it's more complicated than someone thinks.
I don't know, Bill or Beth, if you want to take that. I know a couple off the top of my head because I've researched this. I know traffic, the volume, and then also they take into account one of the factors is how many accidents or occurrences. I know that's one of the tools or the data that Michigan State Police is looking for when our crew is performing a traffic study. But Bill or Beth, I don't know if you want to add on to that response.
I know there's different warrants that have to be met. There's I think 7 or 9. It's pretty.
Yes.
It's a pretty complicated process.
Exactly.
It's just not, you can't judge it by the eye.
Yes, and if you're on mute and if you think we can hear you, we cannot.
This is Ron Agasinski. There's a manual that we follow called the Manual Uniform Traffic Control Devices, and that specifies when and where we should be putting traffic signals. And those are called warrants. If we meet certain warrants, then a traffic signal is required. And I'm not a traffic engineer myself, but I know those are the reasons that we follow for putting traffic signals in place.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
I know it's specific.
So a little shift in terms of the seasons. When we have inclement weather, how does the county prioritize plowing and salting when we have that inclement weather? What does that process look like?
Roads, Steve or Bill?
I guess I'll step in. A couple things. One is we have a bare pavement policy with Wayne County. So when it snows, all of our roads that require salt are salted. So we don't salt part of them, we salt them all. When we talk about priorities, naturally we're looking at major trunk lines, high volumes of traffic, high speed traffic. So we look at our freeways, we look at our county primaries, and then we look at our locals. So that's the basic way that we prioritize them. The other thing is to take into consideration is because we have 99 salt routes, all of those roads that I mentioned, when we have adequate staffing, all of those roads are being salted at the same time. So we don't just salt state roads first and then turn around and salt county roads. All of them are being salted at the same time. But as far as the priority is freeways, state trunk lines, county primaries, and then locals.
All right, I'm going to ask the next question. What kind of shape is Wayne County's maintenance truck fleet in? And do we have enough trucks for the work that needs to be done?
That's a great question. I'm glad you asked. Our director, Derek Coley, he's not on the line here, but since he joined the county roughly in probably 2017, we've been working together, and especially with M&B, to develop a capital improvement plan. As you know, over the years, and thankful to this commission because you've allowed us to add on to our budget as you approve every year for our fleet. When I became director in 2017, I noticed that the average truck we had was roughly around 15 years. That was the life of the truck and beyond. A lot of the trucks was very old. If you look at a lot of road agencies around this state and around this country, the average life of a truck for a road agency is about 7 to 8 years. So we were almost double that. So I'm glad to say in the last few years and thankful to this commission staff who allowed us and approved extra funding in our budget, we've done a lot better and we will continue. We've developed a plan. We started a strategy to say, hey, let's get the trucks down to a 12-year life. And that was basically 3 years ago. So now we move the needle down and we want to go into a 8 to 10-year life. So we have a plan that's established and we're working toward that plan, and we've been getting more new trucks in the last few years than ever before. So we're not there yet, but we have auctions. Now we're having auctions basically twice a year because that goes to that we're buying in those old trucks that cost us more money and hampers our labor, because when we have trucks that's sitting down and can't go, the crews can't get out there and work. So we're working really fast to really get our aging equipment and get that out to the auction. That way use those resources to assist us to buy more equipment. But right now, I say our equipment, our numbers is going down. We're trying to get it to an 8 to 10 year life, opposed to where we were at a 15 and beyond, which is really double almost double the life that we should have.
Thank you.
But we're moving in the right direction for sure.
Great.
Thank you. Okay, this is a question from the public. Is the county planning to add any public electric vehicle charging stations? I know some of the cities have done that. Is the county planning on doing anything like that?
We would love to do that. As some may be aware, a couple years ago, I was appointed to the governor's 21st Century Infrastructure Commission to really say and help develop a plan of what the road should look like 50 years from now. As we look around and we look at the county being the largest county in this state and really having some of the most aging bridges and infrastructure here, we would love to be where we have to be and catch up with technology. Unfortunately, due to the funding we have now, we're still just trying to cure our Band-Aids. And so we want to get there, and we will get there, because we have to do two things. We have really bad infrastructure now and bridges that we're trying to get rid of these Band-Aids and improve, as well as now keep up with the pace with the technology and the technologies that's coming now. So we hope now we were on the right track with the legislators and everyone else that recognize that the roads and bridges needed to be fixed and we need more funding. And I'm anxious to see how that initiative and that endeavor is going to continue as this pandemic now is hit and everyone's focus has kind of shifted. So I hope, everyone is there from the federal level to the state level and everyone else, we can do both things. Deal with this pandemic and the economic impact that it's going to have, but also keep in mind, we still need that funding for our infrastructure and our bridges, and definitely that technology that all of us need to be doing right now, so we won't be further left behind.
I appreciate that. And someone just wrote into our chat room, the DTE is planning on throughout the state supplying charging stations. So that's just something to be aware of. Okay,
we love to pilot with them. We love to partner and be one of the sites where we can do a pilot project with them. That would be great.
Yeah, thank you.
So I think I've got the last question for the evening before folks wrap it up. And this is, I think, a good tie into what we were just talking about. And it's what it all comes down to, the dollars. And so somebody had wrote in and asked or said, I've heard that Act 51 money is distributed disproportionately throughout the state of Michigan. How can this be remedied? Is it something that needs to be done at the state level by working with the legislature?
So I want to make sure I hear the question again, disproportionately?
So the question or the statement was, I've heard that Act 51 money is distributed disproportionately throughout the state of Michigan. How can this be remedied?
That's a good question, definitely for the state.
Have to amend the act.
I was gonna say, that's going to be an excellent question, because I say that all the time. We say that all the time in the formula, and Suzanne knows that because she and I live it all the time about the formula. But I'll let Suzanne take over that one.
Well,
and
we've been struggling with this a lot. The Act 51 formula started with the Act 51 in 1951. That's why it's called the Act 51. So it's very outdated, and it is a state question. And we've questioned many times. We're just trying to understand how the formula works. And I don't think you can even talk to somebody at state that can walk you through it. It's so complicated. They just kind of plug in the numbers and it comes out, and then that's our allocation. So it's really not an easy allocation to really figure out for anybody to figure out. I've been looking at it for 4.5 years, and it's just not something that you can figure out. But it is a problem at the state level. And I agree with Andy. The answer is to amend the act.
Yes, you have to amend the act.
Okay, great. So we are going to wrap up for tonight. I know we could probably talk about this for an entire day, right? There's so many things to talk about with roads. So, but I do want to thank everyone from the public for coming to our town hall. And again, if your question wasn't answered, please reach out to your commissioner or call 1-888 Road Crew. And thank you so much to Director Watts and the entire DPS team for coming out tonight. This concludes our town hall, and I'm going to close up the Zoom meeting. So everyone have a wonderful evening and stay
Thank
safe.
you.
Have a good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.